Unbelievable. Fantastic. Fantastic.
You make me feel like dancing. I wanna dance the night away. You make me feel like dancing. I wanna dance the night away.
Oh, yes, we are going to dance the night away. Welcome to Radio on Wednesday. It is the 14th of October and a very special show it is as well. RK's here as well.
Unbelievable. Who would have thought when we kicked off Men's Radio, we would have Leo Sayer live from Australia.
Oh. And why not? It's 10 in the evening on the same day. I can tell you what kind of a day it's been already.
We would love to hear everything Australian, because in London, in South London, it's rubbish. So you tell us all about the magnificence of Australia.
Well, it's very nice at the moment. I live in the country of between Sydney and Canberra, in a lovely place in the Southern Highlands. It's called, in New South Wales, a lovely little village called Berrima, which is a population of about 600. It's very small, and and
100.
600, yeah.
What did you what?
And it looks like a Sussex village. Yeah, it looks like a village in Sussex, that you might get to between Henfield and Arundel somewhere, So it's very intimate. There's another rock and roll singer who lives here, a guy called Jimmy Barnes, who sings with the band, or used to sing with the band Cold Chisel, which was a great iconic band, and he's very kind of famous here as well. So the two of us kind of like skirt the property, as it were, and it's very nice here. It's very sleepy, very English. We're about about 600 meters high, so we're basically about the same height as the Cairngorms. So we do get very English weather.
Blimey.
It's colder than Sydney and colder than Canberra. We're quite high up, and we have fir trees in the garden and fir trees and parrots. It's a nice mix.
It begs the question. It begs the question why you want to move there.
I do get this all the time, and I have to lie through my teeth and say, no, I'd rather be back in the UK.
And then
but I'm very happy. I'm very happy here, but I do miss a lot of things of the UK, of course, like we all do. But we do think we've landed in a little bit of paradise here.
What do you miss about the UK? Because I don't think well, anyway, go on. What do you miss about the UK? I'm being terrible. Go on.
Oh, look, it's all mundane things, isn't it? It's little things. I miss the red telephone boxes.
I knew you were going to say that.
But mostly I miss Marks and Spencer's sandwiches. There's nothing in the world like Marks and Spencer's sandwiches. And I'm sorry to put the plug in here because, they don't need it. But honestly, nobody makes it like them. And I do miss that. I miss going down to Marks and Spencer's in Gerrard's Cross.
When the rock stars talk, it's all rock and roll. Marks and Spencer's sandwiches. Jeez.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeez. When did you... Oh, my God.
It's subtle that Woolworth sandwiches don't cut it in quite the same way.
No. Over here, Woolworths is actually an equivalent of Tesco's. And, we have three major supermarkets, Coles, Woolworths, so you're looking at your Waitrose and your Sainsbury's and, and your Tesco's. And there's no others, but so Woolworths is actually a big franchise that does all the fresh food as well. So it's different than those guys that just try and sell you about 50 loads of sweets. Back in England, it's a different franchise.
Pick and mix, because they tell us that we have like an obesity problem. So when you're queuing up at the supermarket, I went to Tesco's today for the first time since February because I was next door. Showbiz update at Boots, getting my 9 o'clock in the morning flu jab.
Yeah.
And anyway, no, I'm fine. And of course,
you get a flu jab. You get your flu jab at Boots.
Yeah, it was booked in August. We went this morning at 9 o'clock. Booked in August. The woman who did it. She was exhausted. She's doing 45 a day.
Wow.
45 a day. I know.
The truth is that the flu jab is on special offer at Boots at the moment. You can
get 2 for 1.
So you see, if I may say, so many differences between, I mean, every time I go to Boots when I'm back in England or WH Smith, they try and sell me stuff that I don't want. What has gone on?
Like dairy milk chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all the offloaded from somewhere else, and it was the same at Boots. And I was feeling kind of embarrassed for them. Have you lost the spirit of what you are?
Nah, they
I got over it.
Use by date. That's all.
I tell you,
but
Leo,
it is fantastic that you can get the jab at the chemist. That's really good.
Oh yeah. Obviously
we don't
embarrassing everybody in the queue looking at you. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't a private. It wasn't a private room. Right. First big question coming up to our rock star. Are you ready? It's a big one.
Yes, absolutely.
From Matthew Cope in Northern America, Vegemite or Marmite? Big question.
I must admit, over the years, I have gained a taste for Vegemite.
Controversial.
And honest, Vegemite is actually made from vegetable substitutes and things like that. I'm not a vegetarian, but Marmite has a kind of meaty taste that is very different. I still love Bodvril, I can say that. But honestly, Marmite doesn't really mean much to me. Vegemite is a lot easier to eat. Vegemite on a muffin is a good thing. Big questions. I like it.
We're not getting into your love life now, Leo. It's none of our concern, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, the only good thing about winter, surely, is you can have hot Bovril when you're sitting at your desk. That's it.
Yeah.
It's got no other pluses.
And here's another thing. We are both in opposite seasons, which is a very interesting thing. So you guys, of course, are going into winter and we're going into summer. So look, I mean, I'll prove it. Look, I've got my shorts on. At the moment, there's the legs.
Steady.
Yeah.
Steady. There's a lot of women watching. They'll go wild.
There are some moments, there are pivotal moments in one's career where you have to pinch yourself and say, is this actually happening to me? I am talking with Russ to Leo Sayer about Vegemite and now looking at Leo Sayer's legs. Come on. Have I woken into a or something?
Phil, we have climbed the broadcasting mountain. We're at the summit. There's no other way. There's no other way to go. Right. Question number 2 from Paul Andrews, who's one of our regulars. What does Leo think, apart from his own work, is the greatest pop song ever written?
Now that's a very, very good question. I mean, there are still categories, aren't there?
Yes.
I don't know. Boy, that's a really tough one. You Lost That Loving Feeling.
Righteous.
What? Tune.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Tune.
As a love song, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And would you believe I actually wrote some songs with the guy who wrote that?
No way.
Barry Mann. Yeah.
Oh, Barry Mann. Yes. Do you remember? Just as an aside, Barry Blue. Do you remember Barry Blue?
Very well. Yes, Barry
Such
Blue.
A lovely guy. He's a good mate.
Yeah.
Barry Blue
used to be a DJ at one time in his life as well.
Oh my God, was he?
Yes.
Bad news. Can we send this? This is from my best friend. Seriously, just for a second.
Okay. Let's get these over with.
Can we send love and positive vibes to regular Ed Grossman, who's been rushed to hospital? That's not good.
Oh no, that's terrible.
He was with us on Monday.
Good luck, Ed. Yeah,
absolutely.
Good luck, buddy.
Get well soon.
Bless you. Thanks.
Get well
soon. Chrissy Holt in from Spain. She lives on a farm. I'm not kidding you. On a farm in Spain. Behind you, Leo, are they books or VHSs?
They're all books actually, and various little bits of memorabilia. You might see there's a few cars there. Look at this. So my good friend gave me a lovely present. I'm mad on old Skeletrixes. Look at that. That is Jim Clark's Lotus. Isn't that a beauty?
God. That's
and so there's a few nice things. Oh, look, there's a picture of me and Nigel Mansell going back quite a few years. Hey!
Did he go, Leo, it's really great.
So it's all bits of memorabilia.
I didn't know you were a Formula One nut.
Oh God, I'm a car fanatic. Yeah, car fanatic. And
me too.
I must admit, it ain't the same as it used to be.
Oh no!
Now someone says, "Do they call you Gerald?" Well, it's Gerard actually.
It's Gerard.
My real name is Gerard Hugh Sayer, and it's still on my passport and my credit cards and every public document. So in fact, I'm writing my autobiography at the moment.
Cool.
And it's being written by Gerard Hugh Sayer, because he's the only guy that can handle this idiot called Leo.
When you go to a restaurant, you hand in Gerard Hugh Sayer on your credit card. People say, "Does anyone ever say you look like Leo Sayer?"
You're his brother. I get quite a lot. and I go for that, you know. But my brother Brian actually gets, "Are you Leo?" when he hands his credit card in. So he says, "No, nothing to do with him at all. Absolutely, don't know who you're talking about."
Now, Mr. Sayer, there is actually a very serious subject that we do want. As much as it's terrific to find out all about you and also your family and stuff like that, but there is quite a serious subject that we really do want to talk to you about. And we sort of touched upon it before we actually went live as well, actually, was the industry of music now and sort of the disaster facing it, frankly, because entertainment and live arts feels like, I say back burner, it feels like it's been put on a different stove at the moment. It's terrible.
Yes, a very good friend of mine who's a drummer has a picture of the face of your Chancellor of the Exchequer right on the moment where the beater of the bass drum hits. That should tell you generally about what musicians particularly. But look, all of the arts, we're all being challenged. I mean, how can a ballet dancer who's kind of, you know, maybe at the wonderful age of 22 or something, that has studied ballet from 4 years old, now be asked to retrain for another, thing when that body is tuned to this wonderful, wonderful piece of art? How can a classical composer, you know, be supposed to kind of be bagging up stuff in boots? I'm sorry. It doesn't work. We are possessors of skill sets, you know, where I realize that I'm a craftsman in the way that I work with people from a stage, and, you know, the way that I can handle audiences, the way that I can write songs. These are all skill sets. They're things that you learn and that you are very proud of and that you hold dear, and they're what defines you. So how can you redefine yourself as something else? No, I think that we have to fight this. And I mean, if I was powerful enough now in my profession, I would call for a 1-week strike across the entire British Isles. I'm very serious at this moment, and give them no fucking music for a while. Sorry to swear, but give them no music at all for a 1 week and see how they like that.
If only, you know what, Leo, if only that was enforceable, I would actually join you with that, because it's completely true. And what I don't understand, and Phil and I have discussed this ad nauseum, is you see photos and people we know have jumped on a plane. One of my best pals has just flown out to meet his new grandson. You're sitting on a plane for 5 hours, 11, but you can't sit in the theater. This is madness. There's no logic. No logic.
Well, that's why we have some very hard and fast rules, as you've probably heard, going on in parts of Australia. Anyway, at the moment, we've got the Victorian Premier of Victoria, which in case is Melbourne, has come down very strong, and nobody is allowed to move from their homes. Well, not 5 kilometres, which is 2 miles to you. You're not allowed to go 2 miles outside of your home. So, you know, it's a real lockdown. And this has been going on for months and isn't going to be repealed anytime soon, until there are no deaths and there are almost no cases, until it gets down to about 5 cases a week. So, you know, this is very strong controlling, and it could look draconian to a lot of people. And certainly there's a lot of people that hate it. They just want to get back to work and to hell with the consequences. But it's a brilliant thing when you think of it, that we can, if we're really tough, get on top of this pandemic. That's one thing. And the other thing is that I, as a musician, I've got loads of work that was booked for this year. I can't even leave the country at the moment. I can't even go like on holiday to Thailand or to Indonesia. I can't leave the country. Australians are not allowed to leave the country. So I can't go to America. I'm doing a big record deal at the moment in America. I can't even go there. I have to do Zoom chats. So our restrictions at the moment are very different than yours.
Right.
And we are really being held down. But you know what? We all think it's a bloody good idea.
Do you think?
But I'm assuming that people respond accordingly, though. You see, if people think it's a good idea, they'll work with rather than against the government. It just feels like over here that people have lost faith and lost interest in the way that our government are trying to tackle it. And as a result of it, it's almost like without officially running wild, they kind of have started running wild. They just don't care.
Yes. Well, the same thing has, to a certain extent, happened over here as well. Yeah.
Leo, do you think this is something we've discussed a lot on the show? As you know, we specialize in mental health and well-being. Excuse me, but it's divided young and old. The old, which I put myself in that category, feel vulnerable, and the young couldn't give a monkeys because they're invincible and immortal, as you and I both felt when we were in our early 20s, because we were going to live forever.
Well, there is that side, yeah. But at the same time, there have been plenty of cases of young people catching it. And we now know that there have been rife cases going through the universities, which I've been reading about in the UK. So now, at what degree, look, we're getting to a point, really. I mean, I think of I've got an Italian partner, Donatella, and early on in Italy, they locked up all the roads. They cut the whole place down. They had a huge amount of outbreaks and a lot of deaths, but they kind of put a lid on it. And I'm kind of thinking now, is it too late to put a lid on something? Because we have this situation of super spreaders, don't we? Who can basically, one person can bring it to a whole area. Of course, it's going to affect mental health. We're all being incredibly challenged. But is life more sacred? This is the big questions at the moment. Is it sacred to save lives and to actually stop this bloody thing in its tracks? Or are we going to, rise to those challenges? But I do understand it's terribly challenging for some people. It's really challenging when it's a self-employed person, as I can see, who cannot feed their family,
You see, the argument we've been having, and I would love your take on it, and it's initially back in February, March, I violently disagreed with Phil. We were having on-air rows. We go back a long way, so we can do that. That's okay. And now I've kind of come around to Phil's way of thinking in many aspects. I'm first to admit it, that do you sacrifice some lives to save what's left of the economy, or do you say no, lives must come first? It's an impossible conundrum.
It's the hardest question, isn't it?
Which of course is ridiculous, because we actually, if you think about it, sacrifice lives for the economy every single day. Exactly the same way. If you look at, say, all right, let's look at something along the lines of bus journeys in years gone by with the Route Master. Okay, every single time you jumped off one of those blooming death traps,
you risk your life.
Anyway, they never stopped them until quite recently. It's only recently the Health and Safety Brigade said, actually, do you know what, these buses are quite dangerous, they probably shouldn't be allowed anymore. But it was something as trivial as that. Every single thing in life is a risk, whether we like it or not. But we don't.
Course,
and you know what, Phil, you know what? Everybody knows on Ladbroke Grove, you've got to look before you leap.
You've got to leap across the street.
You could lose your life under a taxi cab.
You've got to have eyes in your feet.
Leo, I played that album of yours.
Oh, bless you.
To death. I'd never back in the day thought I'd get to speak to you or meet you. We have.
No, it's fine. We have met in the past. We've met when you were at Capitol. And I think also we sat there. There's a guy called Peter Stone who used to do the music, and I remember sitting in the cafe with you and with him.
Oh God! Also, we bizarrely
he was my keyboard player.
Bizarrely, we had dinner once together, which you won't recall. I walked into this charity event. The organisers came rushing over. It's just off Grosvenor Square. See if you remember this. And they went, "Oh, thank God you're here." So I'm thinking, well, it's very nice of them, but why are they so friendly? Jeremy Clarkson's ill. He's got the flu. He can't come. Can you run the evening? I'm going, what? And I just was thrown in the deep end. And we were sitting on the same table. I think I do remember that. And you got up and did a fantastic cabaret. Yeah, I mean, everyone went berserk. because everyone went nuts. They said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Leo Sayer," and the room erupted. You know, it was God. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Well, I was. You know, I've really enjoyed your novel. And sorry,
oh
Phil,
God,
just,
thank you very much.
Doing old boys chat. I loved your novel, and I looked at the picture at the back, and I thought, I know that guy. Where do I know that guy from? So anyway, there's a connection. Sorry, Phil. We're locking you out.
It's all good. I'm very happy listening to reminiscing. As far as I'm concerned, you're talking about the days when I was at school, and that just annoys Russ.
Shut up! Just shut up your face! Shut up your face! Just shut up!
Well, I'm 72 now. How about
Jeez,
that? Isn't that incredible?
What?
So I just don't believe it myself sometimes. But there I was, born in 1948, a war baby.
Yeah. Leo, here's a serious question, and it's not a joke. And Phil will know that I'm joking. You look, in all seriousness, fantastic. You look exactly as we remember. You know, if you think
still got the
Leo
hair
suddenly, and suddenly there you are.
Yeah.
Having the hair, because that's a real sore point.
Well, it's very heavily coloured. So you won't get it would be all silver, really. If
colour my hair grey. My colour would be
doing
dark.
A good job. It's very believable.
I can't help but think, though, that you mustn't let it go, Silver, because otherwise then people, never mind getting confused with your brother, they'll get confused with Brian May if you're not careful.
Oh God, we have had some there used to be some funny ones with me and Gilbert O'Sullivan. Do you remember? He used to have very, bushy hair. So they'd always come up to me and say, "Did you write Claire? I love that song." And then they'd come up to him and say, "When I need you, Gilbert, I just don't know how you did that." And he said, "No, not me." So we've had those things. They do happen.
And might I say that to anyone who, just because you mentioned it, I think, can we just have a little blast off? Because it's to me one of the most beautiful songs ever, seriously.
Oh, God.
When I need you, just close my eyes and I'm with
We all have to do this.
Hang on, I know what I'm going to do. Hang on.
I wanna give you. It's only a heartbeat away.
Oh, look at that!
Good.
What you got there, Russ?
My lighter. I'm pretending I'm at one of your concerts. I'm doing my lighter thing.
Oh, look at he's got the lighter. Yeah, I've got one here. Oh no, it's not. I can't find it. I'll set the place on fire. No,
we don't care. We don't care.
Keeping me warm night and day.
Do you know, seriously, I mean, I've always wanted to know, and please don't answer if you don't want to, if it's not public knowledge, but who was that written for?
No.
Because to me, it has so...
Well, it wasn't me who wrote it. It wasn't me who wrote it for the start. It was Albert Hammond and Carol Bayer Sager. Do you remember I'm Moving Out Today? The writer and artist there. She wrote the lyrics.
Friend. She never replies.
Yeah, no, she also wrote. She wrote the lyrics of "Groovy Kind of Love." What a wonderful song that was!
Wow.
Back in the day, we got a groovy. Anyway, Carol wrote the lyrics and Albert wrote the music, and I found the song by chance. I was actually in America at the time, and my ex-wife Janice was back in London, and I was missing her like mad. But of course, we didn't have the money to bring her over for the recording in 1976. So basically, I was looking for a long distance love song in a way to send her a message. And the lyrics of that song were, a telephone can't take the place of your smile. And I won't be traveling for. And I read her all the lyrics anyway over the phone. And for the first time, she got really emotional and cried. And I thought, damn, this is a hit song. I've got to record this. So I went to the producer, Richard Perry, and he said, no, it's a really soppy song, Leo. You don't want to be doing that. That's not a good image. But I finally got there. We recorded it quite a few times before we kind of went back to the original version, which is Albert's demo, and recorded it. And wham, the rest is history, I guess.
Oh, it was just stunning. Whenever there are very, very few songs, genuinely very few songs that move me to tears, but it's been known that has done before. So
it's lovely song for these times as well, because it's a song about long distance love. It's a song about people being separated and, who can't really get across those phone lines or even, internet lines to be close to each other. We can't hug each other right now. We elbow each other, like this. And and intimacy is not there at the moment. And And this is the kind of song that crosses over those barriers or borders that unfortunately are being imposed on us. So it's a great song for these times.
Here's
The
a lovely
problem,
comment.
though, is
Oh,
Russ
sorry,
used to
Phil.
elbow people before COVID. I mean, now
Yeah, he used to elbow them out the way.
Away, you know I am.
Get out the
Janur, precisely. Ken Janur, who's he was a top Fleet Street journo.
Yes.
Leo, he says, Leo, loved your version of Paul McCartney's Long and Winding Road, used in the fabled documentary All This and World War II. I saw it at the Cinerama Dome on Sunset way back in the day.
It's probably one of the only ones. It was from a movie called All This and World War II. And a lovely guy called Lou Reisner, who did the orchestral version of Tommy for The Who. And Lou is a lovely Swiss producer, and he got me involved in it. And honestly, I had one take where it was the London Philharmonic, I believe, orchestra. And I walked in the studio, and they only gave me one take because they'd been busy recording more famous people than me. This is this is the start of my career, 1974 or so. And I got to say, it's one of the vocals that I'm most proud of in my whole career. The movie was a flop. It was basically color film that they found. Now you see it always on the Discovery Channel, but the first color film they found of World War II, and they set the Beatles music to it. So there you go. That's what it was.
I'm going to freak Phil Dave out. I'm going to freak out our listeners because Leo just mentioned the fabled producer Lou Reisner.
Yeah,
not only
man.
did I work in advertising for many years with Claudia Reisner, his daughter. How bizarre is that?
That's right, Claudia. Yes,
Claudia is now Claudia Collingbourne, and Claudia was one of our guests on the Friday show, Phil Dave, with her fabulous new book all about the menopause.
Oh, for goodness
sake. Can you believe this?
What a link, eh?
It's the most bizarre
From the long and
thing.
winding road to the menopause. It's incredible, this show.
Which is Claudia's brilliant book.
How do you do it? Now, can I just interject and say something else?
Amazing personality.
I want to tell the listeners that all the way from Australia, I have been watching a few episodes of this show, and I've got to say you're doing a fantastic job. My very good friend Todd Sharpville was on the other day, great blues guitarist, and he told the kind of slightly embarrassing story about how I went to a mental home to get him to come to Denmark to play on my record, because he's that good. He's an amazing guy, amazing player, very intelligent, and something you may not know, he's actually the son of a lord. His dad, who recently passed, is Lord Phillips. Basically, it's very interesting. He's one of those titled blues players, which is an anachronism, complete anachronism, isn't it? He's a lovely chap. But I watched that episode, and I watched a few others, and I know what Todd's gone through, because there's strange laws about after divorces where you can never see your kids again. This is one of the things that he went through, and he was going through all of that when I knew him, and it was a tough call. And I think that you guys are doing a wonderful job. I know we're talking very flippant stuff because it's all fanzine kind of bits, but the more serious side of life, I think that you guys are doing a wonderful job. I just wanted to say that.
That is so incredibly kind of you.
Well, the reason for men's radio is very strong and very important.
I think, to be deadly serious, all of this COVID mixed with the death of the economy, and I use my terminology carefully, it's going to push the demand for help for mental aid and mental health problems. It's going to go through the roof. There's no two ways about it.
Dead right.
It's impossible to avoid. And, we just want to be here long enough. If whatever we can do, we could do. Melanie Hutchins, who's a very interesting character, says about the song that you just, that Phil just played and we were talking about. I think it should be the song for the John Lewis Christmas advert. It would be perfect.
How nice.
God, that would have been good.
Yeah. When I need John Lewis. John Lewis has been in trouble. So they do need help, don't they? Is Peter Jones still going? That's my favourite store.
Peter Jones on Sloane Square is still going, miraculous.
But I heard, that John Lewis in Birmingham was under threat, and in Manchester and all those places. It's kind of scary. The retail profession is scary.
God, I'm mortified.
Say that again, John Lewis, what?
John Lewis in Watford has gone. I'm mortified. It's not good.
No, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Phil, we're talking to a superstar. Don't mention the word.
No,
Watford.
I want to actually. I need to ask a few questions about Watford and Hertfordshire and what's going on. You know, Phil, fill me in with the big details of what's happening on the street for a Hertfordshirean.
Hertfordshire. I've never heard of it like that. Heartless Shurian, I would have thought, maybe.
Heartless Shurian. Hertfordshirean.
Well, I mean, apart from the fact that our biggest shopping centre, obviously, which is Into, which everyone refers to as the Harlequin, like in the old days. Into, of course, has gone under recently, so we're not entirely sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing what's the theatre that's in the Harlequin there, and I hear that they're really under threat.
Yeah, the Palace Theatre.
That's right. Nice place. I've enjoyed playing there in the past. Yeah. And what's your football team, Phil?
For me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of football, so I couldn't really care less.
Okay. So you're not a Watford man.
No, I'm afraid not.
Come on, you bees!
Yeah, I actually like the bees. I spend a lot of time in Brentford, where I have my storage and everything for a while there. So I love the bees of Brentford. I'm sorry they didn't go up. Anyway, football over. Okay.
Who the hell would think we could get into this? Jimmy Alexis Carrington Ward. I have to do it.
Yes.
Oh, look out.
Oh, my word. He says, Leo looks younger than me, dear.
Dear. There's go.
Don't get started with him. Don't get started
with him. How old is he,
I
wonder?
I keep forgetting how old Leo. I don't know. But you do look. Timmy.
I don't do any fitness or anything like that, but I have this huge reserve of adrenaline. You know, my father died from not being able to create. He had cancer, lung cancer, and he couldn't create adrenaline. And the doctors, when he was going through all of his radiology and all that stuff, they said, "You've got all of his adrenaline. He's passed it over to you." Yeah, I've got a very strange story about my father's death, but I don't know if you'd be bored.
Please. I
was in Australia on tour, and we were playing at a new casino that would you believe, at Alice Springs. This is right near Ayers Rock, we now know as Uluru, the Great Red Mountain, you know. And Alice Springs, of course, is, you know, one of the hottest places on earth, and just a desert, you know. And I was out there playing this thing, and I knew my father was not well and he was dying. And all of the family were telling me, "Come home, you've got to come home." And I said, "Well, look, I can't really." And I'll tell you why I can't go, because Dad says you've got to keep on touring. He says, "I'll only be proud of you if you keep working. Don't come home, whatever they say." So there were two factions, you know, in their family. And I knew he was very, very ill, and I was in Alice Springs. And in the middle of the night, in the hotel, in this tiny little hotel, suddenly there's a call from England. And you know, suitably, of course, the opposite time of the day. And it's my father. And this really weak voice is speaking to me and saying, "Whatever you do, son, don't come back. I'm so proud of what you're doing. You mustn't come back. They're going to try and tell you to come back, but please, please don't. Whatever you do, don't. Stay there. Make me proud of you."
Wow.
The next morning, I went to the front desk and I said, "You know, that phone in my room never rang before. Did you place an international call to me at 3:00 in the morning?" They said, "No."
Oh my God.
Nobody here. There was nobody here. And at that moment, a message came in through the office of my promoter. We didn't have mobile phones in those days. To say, "Your father died at 6:00 in the evening."
Wow.
4 hours before that phone call was given to me. So I carry that with me, and I carry my dad's adrenaline as well. And I think that's where I've got my youth and my energy from. He literally transferred everything to me. I've been so blessed, you know, and I have all this health and energy. It's great.
Wow, that is a beautiful story. Oh my God, I've gone all goosebumpy. I've gone all goosebumpy. Canal Janor is back. Moore Park in Hertfordshire still as lovely as ever, Leo.
Oh, well, you know, darling.
And then also Diane Taylor, looking forward to next September in Medway for the 50th.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, you know, because at this moment, as I say, we can't travel outside Australia. The tour is planned. I'm also going to be doing some shows with Jules Holland, which is a real thrill, a great friend of mine. And I'm very honored that Jules has invited me. So hopefully we're going to be doing some of my own tour, which is called The Show Must Go On, because it's 50 years since 1971 when I made my first record. So it'll be the 50th anniversary. And I hope that we can do that tour. That'll be in September. A few dates in Ireland as well. And then I'll go on to do Jules, and we'll probably do the Hootenanny show, you know, the New Year's one that they do on TV. And then I'll have a little holiday with Donatella in Italy and meet all the Italian folks. But tell you what, fingers crossed, because we don't know what's happening, do we? How long can this go on? We're in this state of stasis, you know.
Well, quite
scary.
Are we able to talk about some of your new work? Because I'm very keen to sort of talk about this before we run out, because we're already sort of way over halfway, which is very depressing. But anyway, but all the same, let's talk about, because you've got some new music, I believe, that you've been working with. So what have you been working on? Tell us a bit about it.
Well, I've been actually writing about the pandemic, and because being an active songwriter, I think that's our job to do, you know, to help people. So I had a song earlier this year called "How Did We Get Here," which I think
did it go viral? Thank you.
It's gone pretty. It's gone out pretty well. It's gone viral. I mean, I don't bother with record companies anymore. All that stuff is old tosh. Well, I don't. I mean, I shouldn't say that, because I do have a wonderful record company, Demon, that look after me there. So give them a hint.
Don't worry, we'll edit that bit out. Not getting out live.
But I do. I'm able to release new stuff independently. That's my back catalogue. So I did that song, and then I've done a song for the people of Melbourne as well called "My City in Lockdown." You can find them all on YouTube, all there. But I didn't want to waste this opportunity of having my own studio and being able to do things.
So I think we should have a little taster, if we may. We've actually got both those songs. We've got "How Did We Get Here" and we've got "My City in Lockdown." So which one would you rather?
Do "How Did We Get Here," because it's very pithy.
Okay. He says hopefully. There you go.
How did we get here? What does it mean? Everyone's hiding. No one can breathe while they search for the person whose head hangs in shame. Open the test tube that holds all the blame, but the shame of it all is that he doesn't exist. So tell me, why does it feel like there is something we've missed?
Blimey, those are some powerful lyrics.
Your voice, Leo, your voice sounds exactly the same. It's lost none of its power, none of its timbre, none of its connection with the listener. It's extraordinary. Nothing.
Thank you. That's very kind.
The reason I'm saying, I think
we have to blame Thomas Edward George Sayer, my dad.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is really because I was very, very upset. I don't know if you ever met him, but I was a huge fan of a different style of music to Van Halen, and to get me through and motivated, I've been listening bizarrely to a lot of Van Halen, which I hadn't listened to for years, and then out of the blue, boom, Eddie dies from cancer. And I was thinking, when they got back together in 2015 and David Lee Roth came back, that voice was not. That's the comparison. You sing and it's like, wow, that's Leo Sayer. David Lee Roth came back and I thought, that's
Well, I've been very blessed. Here's another example of someone who's not lost his voice. Steve Winwood. Have you heard what he's doing recently? And if you look online and see him, doing songs from John Barleycorn Must Die and doing, So Glad We Made It. He sounds exactly the same. There's nothing changed. So those of us that look after ourselves, I guess, maybe there's something in that.
You've taken me back to my school days. John Barleycorn Must Die. God, I played that album to death as well. God almighty. Here's the thing. You say you've looked after yourself. I mean, you look fantastic. You sound fantastic.
Thank you.
You can see it and hear it. But you say you don't do any fitness or anything. It can't all be genes, or can it?
A lot of it, yeah. But a good mental. I'm a very positive person. I've got to say, I live with an Italian. She's pessimistic all the time. So that's a good contrast to have. It's good to have a worrying woman in your life.
Do you get a word in edgeways? Do you ever get a word in it?
Yeah.
Do you?
You know me. I talk all the time anyway, so I win. I win all those arguments. But no, I think that to have a positive attitude, to always be, have a degree of optimism, because you've got to believe in your own powers. And I believe that everybody has that. I mean, you can, some bumbling old tramp down the high street in Watford, don't underestimate him, because we all inside of us have the powers to be wonderful. There was a great Scottish poet. I wrote a song called The Center of the Universe, and it all came from a poet. And this guy says, in the poem, he says, "I am the center of the universe. As I push my shopping trolley through Sainsbury's, no one knows what I know." And you'd think about it, we are all centers of an individual universe. So, you can't underestimate anybody. And if we can channel those things, and I think musicians are good at this, certainly songwriters are, of finding depth in very boring and normal. I mean, I hate boredom. And I'm so scared of being bored, terrified of being bored. So I fill my life with as much activity as possible. Sometimes too much. I'm like a walking suitcase of unfinished business, believe me.
Might I suggest that I never underestimate the quote tramp who lives in Watford, because frankly, as far as I'm concerned, he's the only one during this COVID nonsense whose living conditions haven't changed. So
there you go.
I'd say
he's going to survive longer than us.
No, in all seriousness, true. I absolutely agree, because if there's one thing I can't stand, and I really believe that everyone has their purpose in life, is whether or not they actually sort of do reach that potential. The number of times I've sort of seen people, and look, I'm no angel, of course I've done it myself, but when I realize I have, I feel very guilty. When you walk past someone who is homeless, and then you almost turn the other cheek, you just look the other way because you think that way it doesn't exist, but it does exist. And that's their life.
We are living in an age where our leaders have completely got rid of any empathetic feelings that they should have to their common man. And I do believe that it's up to the rest of us to pick up the cudgels and should we say lead mankind, lead humankind. Let's not say mankind, that's a wrong thing to say. But we have to do things. We've got liars in chief. When your guy's a liar, the American guy's a liar, our guy in Australia is a liar. They are liars. They are crooks and thieves. They don't give a damn about people. So and we're not going to change that very quickly. We know, we know that, Bernie Sanders would have been wonderful for America, but, they've propagandized against him. I'm very proud of my friendship, very long distance now, and I haven't spoken to him for years, with Julian Assange. I'm a huge supporter of Julian Assange. Those that speak the truth are the people that we should be listening to. But unfortunately, we all believe the propaganda that's going around. So it's very easy to destroy people, Actually turn up. Jeremy Corbyn, good bloke. I've met him. He's a great guy. Why should we think that he's a communist piece of filth? Not. He's a good guy. But the propaganda builds.
We're going so well, Leo. But honestly, we are being led in the wrong direction about people. We all have great abilities, and leadership is going to come from truth. That's what I think. I feel abandoned. I think the main thing is we feel abandoned. We don't have politicians we trust. The royal family. I love Her Majesty the Queen. I'm a huge monarchist.
Me too.
And she has been magnificent for this country.
But they ain't doing anything to help.
Hmm?
They ain't doing anything to help. They're not doing anything to help.
No. I get. Yeah, I know it's. Well,
they could do so much more. You know, I think Charles tries. He's quite a good bloke, you know, but I think that this moment we need some great leadership. And I don't think, sorry, you know, now I'm going to get into trouble now. I hate the idea. I hate the idea of Brexit, you know, and I always did. And now we've got a government that is a Brexit government leading us.
Leo.
So it's really sad.
A few weeks ago, I've got to tell you this. We had a socially distanced little dinner, only 6 people. One of the people we'd never met before.
Oh no, you're not really.
Yeah, I can't say this to one of the world's leading superstars. So Phil's there, I'm there, and as one of the, and there's a lady there we've never met. We don't know who it is. And Phil made the slightest one-line little Brexit gag. It was the most innocuous thing. She stood up, and we were eating in the garden while the weather was still all right. She stood up and stormed out the house.
Really?
We thought she was joking, was going to the loo.
No,
right? And she stormed out. We were just sitting there going, like that. We didn't know. It was really embarrassing. We were just upset because of the hostess.
Well, I was
the hostess, but there we go.
Perfectly honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of the European Union, but it doesn't matter. The point is, and I think the biggest difference is that I recognise that whichever way the vote went back in, can you believe 2016 now?
God, I know.
I knew that there was going to be at least half the country left disappointed, and there was no way that if I consider myself lucky enough to be part of the side that's got the majority, I'm not going to say winning side either, because that's quite pejorative language and I don't like that. If I was part of the side that sort of did have the majority of the vote, there was no way I was going to go around saying in your face, which I knew full well there were people before the vote took place saying to me, as someone who wasn't necessarily in favor of the European Union, this will shut you lot up, this will make you, and I just think that that's exactly what's happened to politics now. So we're so polarized that it's not possible for someone to have a different opinion. Whereas, honestly, hand on heart, I recognize people have a difference of opinion, and I actually like the fact that they have a difference of opinion, because then that leads to good, honest...
leads to discussion. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Martin Allen says Leo has the same energy now as he had in the late 70s. Love him now, and I loved him then. Melanie Hutchins, always say that. What a fantastic interview, Leo. You're speaking the truth. What a legend. Michael Swindles, go Leo, quite right. We're fed images that many believe. Françoise Pascal, lovely to see you, Leo Sayer, on
Hello,
your program.
François.
How fabulous.
Beautiful.
Pascal. Yeah.
Merci beaucoup.
He speaks the language. Chrissy Holt, Chrissy Richards, Keith's sister. I'll never walk past. We're talking about homeless people. I never walk past. I give food if I have no money.
Good. That's what I do.
Not before it went mad with lockdown, right? I came out of Green Park Tube Station, and right by Green Park, there's I don't know if it's there's a Pret-a-Manger, right? And there's a guy lying there, and I'm thinking, oh God, right. So I went into Pret-a-Manger. I bought I didn't say anything to him. I just bought a sandwich. He's sleeping. And I got him a sandwich and I got him a coffee. And as I put the coffee down, he goes, "Is it semi-skimmed?"
yeah.
I swear to God,
there's a trap in everything, isn't there? I know. Perfection.
I thought one part of me thought, oh, I better go and change it. And the other thought, sod off.
No,
do you think that
this is exactly
that at this moment?
I was going to say, but this is exactly the point I'm making, that if you truly believe that everyone has their place and everyone has their right in this world to sort of feel how they feel, why is it not okay for someone who's homeless to say, actually, I don't drink full fat milk and I drink semi-skimmed?
It's absolutely fine. I just thought it was fabulous. It was just so British. It's such an English comment, you know.
Yes.
Semi-skimmed. It was just the humour of the moment.
Yeah, and we could pick up on that being one of the reasons for these great divisions is that our individual perfection has run riot. You know,
completely.
It's crazy.
François Pascal, bonjour, Leo.
Bonjour, Pascal. We should meet sometime.
I don't know if she sings. I have no idea. She does everything else. She's an incredibly busy person. We interrupt.
You have some lovely, loyal people on this show. I must admit. Every time I've watched, they come up at the same time, and they have really interesting questions. And Good points. Hey, more questions, folks. Come on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Look, come on. This is absolutely your opportunity. Well, Phil and I always say it's their show. We're just like the conduit.
Yes,
We're just
it
like
is,
the
yeah.
pipeline.
No, that's
it's their
lovely.
show. And also because if they've got something to say, whether we like it or we don't like it, unless it's really extremely rude or obnoxious, we'll put it through. So there's not many radio shows where, you got to go through the switchboard and they speak to the producer.
The open
and
forum,
the producer
yeah.
might say, oh, yes, we'll have Phil. No, we won't have him. Here, it's instant. You're there. That's it.
I might suggest that even though we recognise that this is not a, quote, traditional radio programme, as far as we're concerned, it's done in such a way that you feel as if you are either listening or watching radio, because most people do. A lot of people do watch radio now, actually. I work at, in the main, my day job, as it were, is absolutely streamed video as well. But the point is that it's accessible. It's I think it's that local level which is essential, which is actually kind of dying in radio. That local element where you
well, I can tell you that this year I'm spending more time talking to people online, and we just did a big forum of Sydney musicians and talking about the pandemic and how it's affecting all of us, and hoping that we could maybe professionally give some handout to all those kind of weekend warrior type of musicians that are watching us last night. And it was very interesting doing it, and I find it really therapeutic because I'm meeting my audience now. I must admit, this year, this terrible 2020 year, I'm actually getting closer to people through this situation that's been enforced on us. I'm finding we're really going one-to-one with people. We're really sort of touching on a lot of subjects and a lot of intimacy that would be very much impossible to do if we were in the usual fanzine kind of world that us artists and personalities are. That's all getting broken down at the moment. It's actually fascinating. So, I'm really loving the fact that I'm talking directly to people, and podcasting and this kind of radio that you're doing and visual stuff is something that I think is going to be, now it's going to really be a big norm. I think we're all going to be connecting like this. It's a wonderful thing that's going on, and it's going to bring us closer together, and it's going to maybe get rid of some of the bullshit that the mainstream media wants to foist on us, which I'm very against. And I, as I say, I'm standing up for truth here at this moment, and honesty and being real. And maybe we can get rid of the artifice of conversation that usually progresses in this world.
Do you know, there was a really interesting point that you just said there about the mainstream media, because the other day from a very, very I don't need to name that person because they're not here to answer themselves. No. Trust me, that someone who's very reliable, and I do trust wholeheartedly, who works in mainstream media, and I've no reason to doubt them, sent me a text the other day saying that, did you see that on the 10 o'clock news that they were featuring a story about Blackpool Hospital being, quote, full now with COVID patients. What they didn't say, apparently until much later in the report, which this is just the kind of thing that they want you to sort of hear. It's the headlines. But they said apparently that they have a total, in Blackpool Hospital, they have a total number of 8 beds that they have assigned for COVID patients. And sure enough, all 8 beds were taken up with COVID patients. But what they didn't say is that they actually have another 717 beds, which are virtually empty.
That's it.
The way they're putting it is very, very crafty by saying that the hospital is full of COVID patients, but actually what they're talking about is the designated area is full with, I might add, 2 patients on the brink of going home. They didn't mention that bit either. Shocking.
Well, look, I wrote a song. My most recent album last year was an album called Selfie. I'm not going to sell that now, but there was a song on there called Everybody Lies. And basically, I wish you could play it. I should have sent it, but it's basically the point of everything. We're all telling porky pies. Our leaders are lying to us. Our teachers are lying to us. We're all very much twisting the information that is the real fact.
Nothing is impossible.
Absolutely. Oi!
Well, they say that every dark must have its day. And to hell with anyone who's in the way. And they say that all your proof is just a fraction of the truth. 'Cause everybody lies.
Nothing is impossible,
Oh,
sir.
I love that. God, I love that. Paul here's Paul Andrews. You'll love this. I love these little anecdotes. In the days of landline phones, Leo Sayer lost me a pint with an old flatmate. We had a competition for the most famous person to call the phone in the flat. I was whizzing with Des Lynam, and then Leo Sayer called my flatmate.
I can see it now. Yeah.
That's just hilarious.
That's what we do. You know, I'm always there, ready for those moments. Got to beat Des.
Got to beat Des Lynam. That, you see, that's your
Lovely
life complete. Eve Phantom. Whoa, Eve Phantom. Oh, it's nearly Halloween, Eve. That must be your time of year. What a voice. Lisa Molidore, who's obviously a huge fan, says, you could lie to me and I won't give a shit.
Oh, no, darling.
She doesn't
darling,
care.
I'd only speak to the truth.
Yeah, this is it. Michael Swindles, it's telling the truth by omission. So this is what I know we're rushing to the end of the show, but it's like what Phil just said. If you pull them up, the people who put that piece together say, we didn't lie. And you go, well, you didn't tell the situation. Well, we just didn't put in all the facts. It's just BS.
I hope that when this is all over, we will have some sort of leveling where, you know, there will be people will have to be honest to get out of this pandemic. That's a real going to be a real fact, because the more that we kind of twist things around, the more stuck we get. We just go round in circles and we don't get out of it. So you can't make excuses. You've got to just kind of get down, buckle down and do what needs to be done. And I'd say that to all governments and all leaders and all people in response, all parents of kids as well. Tell the truth to your kids. Don't lie to them, because it'll only get worse. You can't get out of it.
You can't. You dig yourself such a hole. That's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Time. Can we have a little snippet of
what a shame.
My city in lockdown. So tell us.
Yeah, go on.
Can you just tell us a little bit about this song again, just to remind people what it was? You wrote it about the pandemic, yes?
Yeah, all my friends in Melbourne telling me how terrible it was and what was going on, and you know, they're all kind of locked up in their homes and they can't get out. They're still locked up, and this was kind of to support them, because I love Melbourne. It's a beautiful city, and I kind of tried to make it like it's my city. So you know, I was writing for them.
Let's have a little snippet.
Right now, we need a miracle. Everybody needs a break. This thing may be all messed up, but we know it ain't fake. Andrews is looking like Desperate Dan, but what can he do when there ain't no plan? It's all roughed up, stuffed up, monumental up. I can't touch you and you can't touch me. That ain't the way life's supposed to be. We ain't numbers and dots, forget-me-nots, delivered into rows like garden lots. Let me explain, no one's to blame. It's a virus and it's got no shame. It keeps coming and it won't stop. It's here and it stopped the clock. So we pray, find a way.
You have an amazing way with lyrics, sir. Seriously.
Thank you.
I think you're sounding better. On all honesty, and I'm not BSing here, I think you're sounding better than ever. I really do.
That's very kind. Thank
fantastic. Fabulous.
I knew my important years were coming. We've done the pop years. Now we can do the other stuff.
It's really interesting. It's so
Obviously,
good. Listen,
the important thing is that can people listen to that on all the usual channels? Is it out there on?
Yeah, it's on YouTube and it's on Facebook. If they look for Leo Sayer on Facebook, they'll find it. You know, and I'm also known as Curly Geezer. So, and they'll find that on Twitter. I don't know why. My license plate is Geezer, G1ZA.
Geezer.
Might I suggest that, and I'm fairly sure that I speak for Russell and I when I say this, that it has been an absolute pleasure and an honour having you on this show.
Thank you.
Really has. Really has. It's been a highlight.
Let's hope it's nice for people out there as well and help them. And
They've
thank you,
loved
Phil
it.
and Russ, for doing such a wonderful job.
It. Oh.
I think
and Russ, I will push the next book when you finish it. Okay.
Bless you. Thank you so much. It's even better. The day couldn't get any better. Apart from my flu jab.
And Phil, send my love and kisses to Hertfordshire and Watford.
Always, sir. Absolutely. But thank you very much indeed. Seriously.
Leo, thank you. God bless. Take care.
To Australia as well. Thank you very much indeed to all of you for listening.
We'll talk again.
Yes, for joining in. We do appreciate it. Russ and I are back on Friday at 11 o'clock for the 3 hours. Bye.